Thank you so much for being here. It's great to be back after a couple of days off. Some Americans are fearful of a recession because of President Trump's tariffs, but the reality is the tariffs have been known to give an economic advantage in the past, at least sometimes. I'll be discussing that in detail coming up today. Also, shortly after President Trump rolled out his tariff agenda, China responded with tariffs of their own, which has prompted the president to respond. I'll give you the details on that as well. And then later, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the White House Monday to meet with President Trump to discuss multiple topics, including the war in Gaza, Iran's nuclear threat, and yes, of course, tariffs. All the details and updates today, but first, we start here. The doom and gloom crowd, very disappointed and dejected today and yesterday. Black Monday came, hit a giant anticlimactic wall. And today, many markets are back in the green again, though they have cooled off from this morning when they were really up. Yeah, Jim Cramer, you know him from CNBC, all wrong again. And so are scores of other so-called experts. Now, having said that the bouncing ride is not over, I'll tell you that. Look, 2025 is going to be a year of big ups and big downs and a lot of big surprises, too. And on that, you can bet the farm. And big changes come with big challenges. You know that. But today, Democrats are deeply disappointed that Wall Street didn't go full Chernobyl to start the week. They are. The rest of us, of course, are cheering for America, unlike those folks on the left. Now, last year, the majority of Americans agreed that the country was headed in the wrong direction, and 77.5 million of us voted to shake things up. So they reelected President Donald Trump. And that's exactly what he's doing, shaking things up and doing it in a big way. The headlines are sounding the alarm. The markets are going through some significant turbulence as a result of President Trump's Liberation Day plan and other factors. So what's the plan? To make America great again by demanding that the rest of the world pay up if they want access to our markets the same as theirs, or at least be on a level playing field. It's not too much to ask, right? Americans want to see a thriving Main Street, healthy hometowns, not shuttered businesses and skyrocketing unemployment. And to do that, we've got to get back in America. We've got to get jobs here. We've got to reduce the trade deficit. We've got to control inflation. And that's what Donald Trump is working on. And I have faith in his plan, even if it means we've got to endure some bumps along the way. Keep in mind that the headlines are failing to paint the whole picture, which is very predictable, by the way, from the left. They're not going to tell you the truth. But when the facts are there for all to see, it's hard to argue what's happening. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, for example, wiped the floor with NBC's Kristen Welker when he pointed out that there's a lot more to the story that they're ignoring over at NBC. Listen to this.
Kristen, what I like is data. And if we look at data from President Trump's first term, and there's a big study that just came out from a group of economists, mostly at MIT, that showed that a 20% tariff on China led to a 0.7% tax or price level increase over 4 years. I think that's pretty good. If we can take in 20% in tariffs and it's a 0.7% increase, and Kristen, the little publicized story this week, everyone wants to look at the stock market going down. You know what else went down? Oil prices went down almost 15% in 2 days, which impacts working Americans much more than the stock market does. Interest rates hit their low for the year, so I'm expecting the mortgage applications to pick up.
Well, just to be very clear, though, I mean, during President Trump's first terms, the cost to Americans was nearly $80 billion in new taxes due to his tariffs. The prices did go up on everything from washing machines to tires.
Well, no, but let's go back. The aggregate number was 0.7. So we can discern the individual things. Also, households saw real net wages go up. So if wages go up faster than prices, which is not what happened over the past 4 years, that's why the bottom 50% got eviscerated.
Yeah, you see that? He's totally calm, cool as a cucumber. The Treasury Secretary understands President Trump's master plan, and his faith is in it. He has faith that it will deliver for the American people, so do I. Bessent says the Trump administration is focusing on the needs of the American people, the working class. And he's one to let the Wall Street executives take a bump in the chin if it means the average American can afford a house, gas in their car, and food on the table. Listen to these shocking statistics. Listen to this.
The top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills, they rent their homes, they have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief.
Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, I think the popular slogan for the left was something like, was it eat the rich? But now they're all in a tizzy that stockholders are in a panic? Really? Sounds pretty hypocritical to me. What do you think? We may very well be in a bear market. It's not the end of the world. We've seen it before. In fact, in 2022, the market wasn't doing so well. The difference was that the administration at the time wasn't working overtime behind the scenes to secure the best deals for the American people on the global trade stage. That's what's happening right now. President Trump believes there's no better time to do the right thing than right now. We're going to have to confront our trade deficit at some point, and I trust that he's the man to do the job. Listen to this.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do this, what I'm doing. And I'll tell you what, it's an honor to do it because we have been just destroyed what they've done to our system. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. And the reason is that people allowed it to get that way. So we'll be talking to China. We'll be talking to a lot of different countries. And I think, you know, if we can make a really fair deal and a good deal for the United States, not a good deal for others. This is America first. It's now America first. And we didn't put America first. We put America last. The people that were in the Oval Office put America last, and we're not going to stand for it.
Yeah, he's got nerves of steel. Good to see. He sees a job that has, well, it's got to be done. And he is not going to stop until it's done right. Nice to see, isn't it? This is a man who doesn't have to worry about trying to pander to the elites to win another term. He's diving headfirst into a high-risk, high-reward endeavor that could be the thing that actually puts America back on top to stay. Now, here's those nerves of steel I'm talking about. Listen.
How do you ensure, Mr. President, that these tariffs don't drive U.S. trading partners into the hands of the Chinese?
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. If they want to be in the hands of the U.S., they don't want to be in the hands of the Chinese. And the Chinese have turned out to be really not very good at that. People that are with us, they're with us. But we cannot be taken advantage of any longer. I used to watch these deals for years. I've been talking about it for years. You know, I've been talking about it for 35 years, how our country is being ripped off. I mean, 30 years ago it was Japan, then it was something else, then it was another group, then it was China. China's doing the best job of it, frankly, and it's just not going to happen.
Not going to happen. In fact, he is so confident in that he's raising the stakes against China again a few more notches. He's turning up the heat. He has to. Listen.
With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already. And I said, if that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year they'd make on us on trade, and it shouldn't be that way.
So he's clearly not messing around, and already deals are being made and wins are being handed to the American people. I want you to listen to a former chief of staff in the Department for President Trump lay it out, explain it to you in detail. Here it is.
Well, he says over 50 leaders have reached out, tried to get calls with the president. I think Vietnam is one that they've also said they want to go to zero. I think Taiwan could very quickly add in some things like more purchases of American-made weapons, spend more on defense. I think, John, we're going to have a domino effect of countries all over the globe shaping up, or they're going to have to live with a permanent situation where America is no longer going to be the chump and take what other countries are dishing out at us. And President Trump, like he said, is resetting the global trading system, and he's doing it in a remarkably short period of time.
Yeah, I don't imagine that's... I just do not imagine that Trump is behind closed doors worried. Not at all. You see, he's seeing the rewards of his calculated risk. He knows what he's doing. because he knows, and we know, that tariffs are just one tool, one piece of the puzzle for his America First agenda, just one thing that he's working on. The administration is also slashing taxes, cutting back on regulations, weeding out waste, fraud, and abuse to lower government spending, securing our borders, and, well, it's all going to add up to one big economic boom. That's my belief. Trump 2.0 is all about going all in. He's been wanting to do this for decades. You don't believe me? Here's a march down memory lane.
And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
It is a joke. All the way back then, what was that, 30 years ago with Oprah? He knew. Here's another throwback for you. Democrats used to be on board with this kind of policy as long as it wasn't coming from President Trump. Whether it was 1996 with Nancy Pelosi or 2018, listen to these Democrat top dogs lay it out for you. Here it is.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents, is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States.
It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
Well, now they've sold out or fallen victim to Trump derangement syndrome, or whatever you want to call it. But not President Trump. He's standing up for what he knows is right. He is not shaken by the stock market's reaction. He's playing the long game. Those who aren't as confident want to know if he's going to cave. But just yesterday, he told reporters he's not considering any pauses. None. No deals. None. This is the consistent message across the administration. Here's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Listen.
The Treasury Secretary said on another network, we're going to hold the course. It's not the kind of thing you can negotiate away in days or weeks. That makes it sound like the tariffs are staying in place at least for days or weeks. Is that correct, or is the president considering postponing implementation to negotiate?
There is no postponing. They are definitely going to stay in place for days and weeks. That is sort of obvious. The president needs to reset global trade. Everybody has a trade surplus, and we have a trade deficit. We are paying away our future and our lives. The countries of the world are ripping us off.
Ripping us off? Well, not anymore. Trump is all in on putting America first. He's not halfway in, halfway out. He is all in. I'm putting America first. So am I, by the way. For the last several years, we've heard the left and the neocons beat the drums of actual war in places like Ukraine and elsewhere, yelling from the rooftops that the fight for so-called democracy hundreds of miles away or thousands of miles away or tens of thousands of miles away was worth our dollars, even our boots and blood on the ground if it came to that. They were willing to sell out the American people for literal war, but they don't have the stomach to handle a trade war? Give me a break. So, yes, the stock market's rattled a little bit. And, of course, there's some concern over that. There always is. But I have faith in the agenda that I voted for. I have faith that we'll come out on top at the end of this, and I hope you have that same faith, too. I don't meet anybody with buyer's remorse. None. After the break, some fear of the recession from President Trump's tariffs, and the history has shown us that tariffs can work for us. I'll have an expert in to explain after the break. I've looked at the scorecard. It says about 70 countries now have reached out to say, look, how can we settle this tariff issue with the United States? They're coming to us, of course. First one to show up yesterday was Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office. Now President Trump says that he's waiting to hear from China before tariffs of more than 100% take effect. Other administration officials said they would not prioritize negotiations with the Chinese Communist Party. Stock market has taken a hit since President Trump announced wide sweeping tariffs across multiple countries that will go into effect even further in the days ahead. Although fears of a recession have spiked as a result, tariffs have yielded positive results in the past and could do so in the future. President Trump himself told Americans, hang tough while we wait to see the positive effects these tariffs will give Americans. But folks, well, they have a lot of questions. Here with me to discuss this is the founder of Sawchuck Wealth, Terry Sawchuck. Terry, nice to see you here again. Look, the market was down, I think, 5% on Thursday, 5% on Friday. Look, if you looked at the pre-market on Monday, it was down 1,800 points. Thankfully, that didn't happen. I think it ended the day about 300 points down. Here today, the Dow is just in the green at about 67 points. The NASDAQ and the S&P just barely in the red. So it seems like a kind of a normal day on Wall Street. Where are we in all this?
Well, I hate to say it, Steve, but I don't think it's a normal day. The market, everything dropped dramatically. We were up big time earlier in the day, and then everything fell back as the latest, round of tariffs got levied against China. So I think, the market, I just think it's a difficult market right now, Steve. I don't think it's one you want to trade. It's, in my view, it's kind of a risk-off market, and it's going to be that way for a while. What we're doing is restructuring global trade. This really isn't about tariffs in the true sense of the word tariffs. This is about rerouting all of global trade and isolating China, and that's going to come with some bumps.
Well, help me with this. You just used a term, and for the folks that don't understand it, risk-off market. What is a risk-off market, Terry?
It just means that I think you want to pare risk back, reduce equity exposure, put hedges in place. I don't think this market is going to go up a whole lot, and I think it's got a lot of downside risk as we work our way through this. In the end, if you look at the last 40 years, Steve, the market's been pushed up on debt, liquidity, easy money, and it's made, as Scott Bessent said, the rich ultra rich, but it's left everyone else behind. And so I think the America that Trump envisions is more one that's shared in terms of prosperity, which really means the middle class and not the upper end. And so the stock market just may not do well for a while as we get through this process.
Yeah, it is a process. Now, I think there's been 7 bear markets total in the last, basically in my lifetime, right? The most notable, 1987, 2008 and 9. 2022 was not a great year. We always come back, 1 year, I didn't realize this, but I went and looked at the numbers. 1 year after Black Monday, 1987, the market was up 28%. Most times that you see 2 consecutive drops of 5%, or you get into a bear market like this, you go a year down the road and it is rebounded. I don't know if it's going to happen this time, but historically speaking, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, except that during that time, Steve, you had a couple things that were working in our favor. One is you had a strong demographic trend. The baby boomers basically in the 80s were in their 30s, and now they're in their late 60s, 70s, and even some in their 80s, right, or almost 80s. So where you had a demographic tailwind, now it's a headwind. I would also say that as we kind of reshape this economy and we go from one that's debt-fueled to one that's manufacturing-based, it may not bounce back as quickly this time. And I think people need to kind of come to terms with this idea that, if you don't have all this easy money, this liquidity that drives everything up, this may be a period where you're going to have to pick winners and losers. Some areas of the economy are going to do really well and others might not. This is, in my view, this looks more like a deflationary trend than it does stagflationary.
All right, so now looking at the markets, they've all gone red in the last few minutes. The Dow's down 369, the NASDAQ down 354, the S&P down 86 points. How far can it go, Terry? I mean, do you think that we're going to see another bad day. I didn't see Black Monday. I don't really think this is Black Tuesday, but if you're down another couple of points on top of where we've been, it's not good news. I'll give you the last word here.
Yeah, I mean, we're already in bear market territory, Steve. Everything is down 20% from the highs. So we're kind of there. How much lower could it go? Yeah, it could easily go another 10, 20, 30%. I'm not saying it will, okay? I'm just saying it has the propensity. The good news is that the bad news has been front-loaded, right? All the negotiations, all the tariffs, all that stuff. We haven't gotten to the good stuff yet, which is the tax cuts and the deregulation and all the things that they're going to talk about here pretty soon. So I think that's going to help. But this could just be a difficult year, and I don't think Trump really cares about how well the stock market does. He has to get interest rates down. That's their number one priority. So for what that's worth, my friend.
I mean, yeah, people have got to be able to afford mortgages and car loans and everything else, tax cuts, interest rate cuts, and we'll see what they do at the Fed. But that's clearly what he's angling for, because inflation's going to be less than 2%. You can find out more at Sawchuck Wealth with Terry Sawchuck. Sawchuck Wealth, look him up. He's got a little more of a sobering take on the markets, I think, which is, I think, just a rational take. Terry Sawchuck, always appreciate you being here.
Sometimes the truth hurts, buddy.
You know, you got to take the medicine, friend. There you go. All right, after the break, President Trump's tariffs will be taken into effect this week. Some countries responding with tariffs of their own, others coming to the table. We'll continue the discussion up next. Sunday, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te pledged to remove trade barriers instead of imposing reciprocal measures against the United States. And this is just the latest example. We're hearing South Korea is also coming to the table. Taiwanese companies also vowed to increase investments in the United States. Big dollars, billions of dollars. Taiwan runs a trade surplus with the U.S. and currently faces a 32% duty on some products, excluding semiconductors. President Trump announced new tariffs on more than 50 countries this past week, with the U.S. Customs beginning to collect a 10% base tariff on Saturday. So that money is already flowing in. Additional country-specific tariffs ranging from 11 to 50% will take effect 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. Lai admitted Taiwan's trade-dependent economy would struggle under tariff pressure, but did not mention U.S., Canada, and Mexico agreements. He stressed cooperation with the U.S. to reduce impacts. Taiwan has no plans to retaliate, none. Companies like TSMC have recently announced large-scale U.S. investments, including a $100 billion plan for electronics. Tensions between China and Taiwan remain high after China spent days and days doing military drills in the China Sea and is retaliating against U.S. tariffs, threatening to raise Chinese tariffs even higher. President Trump says he'll take our tariffs to 50%. In fact, that's happened now, we're told. China cannot win this. I'll tell you right now, they cannot win this. They will have to come to the table and get rid of all tariffs in all directions. The EU has already folded. Attorney General Pam Bondi has suspended DOJ Attorney Erez Reovini for failing to defend the Trump administration in a key deportation case. Reovini is the acting deputy director of immigration litigation and was removed for not following orders while advocating for the U.S. in court. Riovini's supervisor, acting director August Flengy, was also suspended for, quote, failing to supervise a subordinate. The suspensions follow the court case of El Salvadoran illegal immigrant Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, who was deported to El Salvador in March. Garcia entered the U.S. illegally. 2011. Ordered deported 2019. ICE deported him to the terrorism confinement center in El Salvador in March. Obama-appointed U.S. District Judge Paul Zinnes ordered Garcia returned, ruling deportation was illegal. The court argued there was no factual basis for Garcia to be held. Riovini responded he had no answers for the court, undermining his client, the U.S. government. The Trump administration maintains Garcia has gang affiliations. Oh, and by the way, a new court ruling say that he can stay there. Yeah. Pam Bondi says that these attorneys need to zealously defend the interests of the United States. The White House responded to Zinni's order to facilitate and effectuate Garcia's return by midnight Monday as unlawful, stating Garcia is El Salvadoran, and he's held in his own country beyond the defendant's authority to effectuate his return to the U.S. The DOJ maintains Judge Zinni's erred in the hearing because it is outside her jurisdiction, and Garcia's removal is lawful and final. Last night, the Supreme Court blocked Zinni's order with a temporary stay, blocking the Trump administration's deportation of Garcia for now, greenlighting Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act 5-4, proving again that Amy Coney Barrett is dangerous to America. She joined the three liberals on the court. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Well, tax season is officially here. In fact, it's almost that day, isn't it? The IRS turning up the heat. The April 15th deadline, a week from today. Fast approaching. Now's the time to act. If you've fallen behind on filing or you owe back taxes, delaying it will only make things worse. Every day you want increases, every day you wait, that is, increases your risk and the consequences. There are over 5,000 new tax liens filed every day, and powerful enforcement tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments at its disposal. The IRS is applying pressure at a level we haven't seen in years, driven by heightened administrative scrutiny. Don't make the mistake of facing the IRS alone. Don't do it. Tax Network USA is here to help you take control. Self-employed or a small business owner, that's fine. Even if your books are a mess, they can handle it. Tax Network USA specializes in sorting out financial chaos and getting you back on track as fast as possible. Now, your consultation is free. Free. Don't wait for another letter or a surprise levy. Put a stop to the growing interest, penalties, and threats, and take back control of your finances. Call 1-800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV. Tax season's here. Don't wait for April 15th to make a move. You're running out of time. Beat the IRS to the punch. Get it done today. All right, we're keeping an eye to see if Donald Trump comes out here in a moment to sign some executive orders. Meanwhile, he met with Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel yesterday at the White House to discuss tariffs and relations in the Middle East. We'll have more when we come back on America's Voice Live. America's Voice live on a Tuesday. So nice to see you here. Now, just yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the White House, where he was greeted by President Trump himself shortly before the two met privately in the Oval Office. Shortly after that, the two leaders held a joint press conference where they discussed tariffs, Iran's nuclear capability, and the ongoing war in Gaza, including the remaining hostages, if they're even alive. President Trump is making America great again, one step at a time, and this time it's by strengthening foreign affairs with one of our closest allies. Here with me to discuss this is the foreign policy expert and board member of Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, Harley Littman. Mr. Littman, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Greatly appreciated. All right, so Benjamin Netanyahu, the first one to come to the White House and say, we don't want any tariffs. Look, Israel not a huge trading partner, but an important one and a very close ally. How significant is this?
I think it's very significant because Bibi Netanyahu wants to be Trump's best friend, if you will, and wants Israel to be a model of a foreign nation that's fully cooperative with the United States. So he's really striving to make huge efforts, Bibi Netanyahu, to be in alignment with President Trump and support President Trump on the tariffs.
And what do you think it'll mean? I mean, I've heard people say this, and I'll take your take on it as well, that once the dominoes start to fall, and if Israel goes and Taiwan goes and Japan joins and you just see one country after another say, look, we don't want anything to do with these tariffs, not with the United States, you start to see these trade barriers come down. Do you think Israel is that first big domino to fall?
Most likely. That is the goal of Bibi Netanyahu. For him, it's essential to have not a good, but a great relationship with President Trump. And Bibi knows very well that this is a high priority for President Trump. He also knows that President Trump has been getting a lot of criticism from all over the world, including the United States, on the feasibility of these tariffs working. So Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to do everything possible to get Israel to the front of the line so he could say, President Trump, we need your support and all the things we're doing, and in return, we're going to do everything we can to work with your agenda and to be the first country to be able to show that.
How many of these hostages do we even know are still alive? I mean, switching gears to what's going on in Gaza, Donald Trump still talking about the idea of making sure that all the Palestinians are removed, that Hamas is eradicated, and that Gaza becomes under the control potentially of the United States. Is that really a serious conversation, do you believe?
Of course. I think this is brilliant of President Trump. It shows extraordinary vision. Vision is where you see things before anyone else sees them. And that's what he sees. And a lot of people don't realize this. They think he just came up with this out of the blue, if you will. There is historical precedent to this. The British and the French that controlled the Middle East at the turn of the last century had many meetings where they talked about making Gaza into some kind of Riviera as an opportunity to uplift the local population and make it a great tourist area where British and French military officers could get R&R, relaxation, and rest. So I think it's a great idea, President Trump. It has a lot of challenges, like all things do, but they're all solvable. And I think it represents the best hope for the Middle East in having peace. And I will add one last thing. This is really good for the Palestinians in Gaza. Why? Gaza is unlivable right now. In most of Gaza, there's no sewage, no running water, no electricity. Most of the homes are destroyed. And there are tens of thousands of booby traps in almost all the rubble, which is dangerous for everybody, particularly children running around and playing. So if you don't take the people out of Gaza, what are you asking them to live with? You're asking them to live in hell, in misery. It's just not livable. Yeah. So I think on a humanitarian basis and on solving a political problem, Trump hit a home run.
Yeah, trying to do something different. And look, in a negotiation, you throw something out there. Maybe it seems outlandish to some, but you're staking a position that says everything you've done previously has been an utter failure, and it has. October 7th underscores what a failure it's been there. And maybe it's time for something different. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, he's thinking out of the box. He's being creative. I want to jump into Iran for a moment. So President Trump announced in his news conference with the Prime Minister of Israel that he opened up direct talks with Iran. I think that Israel is alarmed because while President Trump has stated he wants to have an arms agreement with Iran, and that would be great if it works, the danger from Israel's perspective is Iran will cheat. Iran will sign almost anything to get Trump off their back. But you absolutely cannot trust Iran. It's like any business deal. No matter how good it may look, if you can't trust the person on the other side of the table, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Now, that said, Bibi Netanyahu said that if it's done like the deal was done in Libya, where Americans enter the nuclear facilities, dismantled it, and destroyed it, that is something that Israel would support. But Israel is very much afraid that Iran will try to out-manipulate Trump.
Yeah, well, I don't see that as likely, but of course we're watching it closely. Harley Lippman, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.
So tariff wars, recession fears, and inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs in volatile markets like right now. Don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. Take control and safeguard your savings. That's why so many Americans have been turning to gold, Birch Gold. They've helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to get that hedge against inflation with all you're seeing and the instability that's going on out there? Is it time to settle that with gold? Learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account. Text America to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation information kit again. Text America to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, I trust Birch Gold to help me protect my savings with gold. You can, too. Took us decades to get into this tangled mess they're trying to get us out of. How long will it take? What will it cost? Nobody knows. Text America to 989898 and get started. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with America's Voice Live after this. face it, none of us getting any younger, and staying healthy more important than ever. Millions of Americans are always looking for ways to feel better, get in shape, improve their overall health. That's all true. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Holly Lucille, here on behalf of Pure Health Research. Doctor, nice to have you join us here today.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me back. It's always great.
Always good to have you. You've got some great supplements that could increase your chance of success, that is, with health resolutions, so you can look and feel better, whether it's a New Year's resolution or just a plan for the future. And as a viewer of the show, they have an extra special deal coming up as well. What are these supplements, first of all? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so they're by Pure Health Research. We've been talking about Pure Health Research for some time on this show. One of the things, I've been in the industry for quite some time, and one of the things I love about Pure Health Research is their commitment to quality. I think that's very important in this day and age, where you can get your hands on just about anything. And they only use premium natural ingredients in all of their nutritional formulas. And then what's interesting, too, is that if you go to their website, for example, which, yes, as you said, for the next 48 hours, 30% off everything for your viewers with the coupon code VOICE. But you'll look at one of the products and they'll list the ingredients, and behind each and every ingredient, guess what there is? There's a clinical study. So you know this is a natural and effective and also safe product to get the job done. And it does what it says it does, because they use no GMOs, right? No artificial chemicals, fillers, preservatives, all those things that we now in this administration have our eyes on that other countries have banned because we know it's not good for us. They are not in these products whatsoever.
Yeah. What are the three best? You got some popular ones, some ones you really like?
Yeah, there's over 40 products, and so, or 45 to be exact. But we've talked about liver health, the liver health formula so much, and I still think it's like number one. Fan favorite for sure. The name implies exactly what it does. It supports our liver health, and our liver is one of the most important organs of this modern day because, yes, it does filter out toxins and they are robust, but it also does over 500 different functions every single day, and 5 of those are how you look and feel. So that stubborn belly fat, your skin, I've seen people get on this formula and their skin changes. It's kind of fun. Also, anybody that is really struggling with that fluid retention or that swelling, the lymph support, the lymph system support, I should say, very nice. And, during the pandemic, we realized that only 12% of the American population were metabolically healthy. What does that mean? Appropriate and balanced blood sugars, right? That are super important, that doesn't lead to metabolic dysfunction, that doesn't lead to cardiovascular disease or diabetes. And so the best-selling formula in this category is the blood sugar formula. So it really helps support healthy blood sugar, and also it can help reduce those cravings. So those are the top 3 that I really love.
Yeah, those are, look, you can control the blood sugar, control your cravings, control your health, get on track, right? Yeah, get on track.
A supplement is exactly what it says, right? You just, it's something that enhances or adds to something that's already there. So we have our lifestyle, we have our diet, we have our modern day, but this is something, because we all know not everything is great right now, to just kick the can down the road, kick the ball down the field just a little bit quicker so we can actually score a touchdown with our health each and every day.
Yeah. You can't put a price on good health. You just can't. And you need to invest in your health, whether it's getting out and, exercising, moving, walking, biking, going to the gym, whatever it might be, and taking the right things to make sure you're doing all things. Now, if you want to head over to purehealthresearch.com, you can find out more information about the 45 products they have. You can try them risk-free. And for the next 48 hours, if I'm not mistaken, you'll save 35% on your order with the coupon code VOICE. With the coupon code VOICE, right? You'll save 35% today, correct?
35% for the next 48 hours. Yeah. So try them. And again, risk-free, 365 days that if you don't like it, send it back. No questions asked. You get every single penny you paid.
All right. 365-day guarantee. So you risk nothing. By giving them a try, you save 35%. But again, it's incredible. 35% discount. It's only available for the next 48 hours. So shop and save now before it is too late. Go to purehealthresearch.com. Save 35% on your order with the coupon code VOICE. Thank you so much for being here, as always.
We'll see you next time, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you what makes America wonderful. And we'll have answers to America's Voice question of the day. All right. What do you think the long-term effects of President Trump's tariffs will be? What do you think, folks? We want to hear from you, America. We'll do that in a moment. America runs on vast quantities of cheap energy, and right now we're looking at an event where Donald Trump is going to come in and sign some executive orders on American energy and the energy future of this nation, making America great again. So we are keeping an eye on that. We might pop into that in the next few minutes here on Real America's Voice. Now, what makes America wonderful? Well, what happened to Alyssa Atkinson is every parent's nightmare. But thanks to two courageous high school coaches in Michigan, it became a story of heroism, faith, and survival. On March 12th, a 14-year-old freshman was just beginning warm-up laps at Allen Park High School's track practice when she suddenly collapsed. You see, her heart had stopped without warning. I don't remember anything after we started drills, Alyssa recalled. Her next memory was waking up in a hospital bed surrounded by family and flooded with questions. I was just grateful to be awake. For her mother, Kelly Dolan, the moment was unthinkable. But God put the right people in the right place and at the right time. Two Allen Park coaches didn't freeze. They jumped into action. One began CPR. The other grabbed the school's AED and administered a life-saving shock. Within moments, Alyssa's heart began beating again. Athletic Director James Victor said their emergency action plans paid off in the most powerful way imaginable. You pray you never have to use it. But when you do, you hope it works. This time, it did. While doctors still don't know what caused Alyssa's cardiac arrest, one thing is clear. Training, preparation, and courage saved a young life that day. Alyssa's family says they will never forget the coaches who stepped in when every second counted. How do you thank someone for saving your daughter's life? There just aren't enough words. So true. Here's your America's Voice question of the day. Thank God for President Trump. They want to know if the tariffs are going to work long term. That's the real question. That's the question of the day. We're going to keep an eye on President Trump here. Could be coming out and getting ready to sign executive orders. We're keeping an eye on the event right there. Seems like we might have some action there, as President Trump will be making his way in. Again, talking about American energy. America runs on vast quantities of cheap energy. There's the president now greeting the crowd. Look at the folks in the hard hats. These are energy workers, pipeline workers, people that make America great. Those people are the backbone of America, and Donald Trump knows it. These are the people who put him in the White House, and they put him in the White House for a reason: to protect the American middle class, to make sure America is first, that America is energy dominant. So he's thanking those that made it possible, working his way through the crowd. Going to make a few comments now. Here's the President of the United States.
They're strong, and they're great. These are great people, and thank you very much. This is a very important day to me because we're bringing back an industry that was abandoned, despite the fact that it was just about the best, certainly the best in terms of power, real power. And I'm very honored to be doing this. The country's went to beautiful clean coal, and they've stayed there for many years, like China. China's opening 2 plants every week. Germany went green, very green. They went so green they almost went out of business. Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. You know, the Green New Scam hit Germany too. And guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful, clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful, clean coal. Beautiful, clean coal. So today, thank you. Today we're taking historic action to help American workers, miners, families, and consumers. We're ending Joe Biden's war on beautiful, clean coal once and for all. And it wasn't just Biden, it was Obama, and there were others. But we're doing the exact opposite. And all those plants that have been closed are going to be opened. If they're modern enough, or they'll be ripped down and brand new ones will be built. We're going to put the miners back to work. And I said I was going to do this. And I've said it loud and clear. And it's time to do it, and we need it. And I look at these people behind me. I don't want to have any arm wrestling contests with any of them, but they've had a little more practice with the lifting things, I will say. But they are great people, and I know them indirectly for a long. That includes you guys for a long time, and they're great people, and with great families, and come from areas of the country that we love and we really respect. And I want to thank Secretary Doug Burgum for doing such an incredible job. From the day I met him, I knew I wanted to have him in my cabinet. He took a shot at running, and he was so good and so solid that he made no news, and that was good. But I saw him, and I saw his beautiful wife, Catherine, and I said that they're going to be a team. They are a great team, and they're going to be working for this country someday. And one of the first people I called after I won. So thank you very much. And along with the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, and I was going to make Doug actually the Energy Secretary. And he said, sir, you have one person who's much better than me at this, Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? I have no idea who he is. And then I learned that he's the most respected person in the energy business by far, far and away. For Doug to say that, Doug's got a big ego. It was very tough for him to say that. Catherine was there, right? Catherine, you said, wow, I've never heard that before. But Chris, you guys are fantastic. Stand up, all three of you, please stand up. Yeah, that's a great team. It's no better team than that. And they're going to produce energy the likes of which nobody's seen before. You know, we need to do the AI, all of this new technology that's coming online. We need more than double the energy, the electricity that we currently have. You take all of the electricity in the country right now for houses, for buildings, for everything. We need to more than double it to be number one. We're now way ahead of everybody at AI. China's in second place, but way behind. And they're going to be producing a lot of energy and a lot of electricity for this. And so are we, and we're going to get approvals very fast. And I would say the man that's almost comparable to you in terms of the importance to this, maybe he's even more comparable, I hate to tell you, a guy named Lee Zeldin, who's a friend of mine for a long time. He was a great... Lee was a great lawyer, and he ran for office, and he won immediately. I gave him a very important endorsement. He won for Congress in an area that was unwinnable. He couldn't have, they were all saying, why is he wasting his time? That's Democrat territory. And I liked Lee and knew Lee, and he ended up winning a seat in a massive upset. Nobody knew what happened, actually, and then he was there for a long time. How many years were you there? 8 years. Was very popular, and then he almost ran. He almost won the governorship of New York, which is lost by a few points, which was an amazing run. And I said, we got to get you in with us in some form, and we did. And he's head of the environmental agency, EPA, and doing a great job. And I said, if we have a nuclear power plant, Lee, can you get it approved in less than a month? He said, what? He said, I'll do it faster. And by the way, he'll do a fast job, but he's going to do also a great job. It's going to be an important job. We don't even smile about it, but, you know, I've been involved in the approval process for a long time, having been in real estate, and you go years and years and years for absolutely nothing. And even in those days, I used to say, you know, this whole thing could have been approved in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it would have been just as good. But they'd take you down the path, and you'd spend years waiting, and then sometimes you get rejected. I wasn't rejected too much. I was the king of zoning. I did well, but it was such nonsense. It was so terrible. The process was so terrible. But this is the big leagues now, and he's the head person in the whole country, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you doing it. And already they're respecting you very greatly. So thank you very much, Lee. Great job. So we have a lot of senators and congressmen and women, and I'm going to just introduce the ones that I see here because, you know, it's always a problem when I do this because I leave one or two out, and that's the end. I never get their vote again. I never get their vote. It takes years to recover, but we'll give it a shot because Senator John Barrasso, who's my friend and a great gentleman. Thank you very much, John, for being here. Thank you, John. Cynthia Lummis, fantastic woman who believes like I do. She believes like I do in these people, right? She believes in them maybe even more than I do. That's pretty good from day one. Thank you, Cynthia. You're doing a fantastic job. Kevin Kramer, my friend. Where is Kevin? Because Kevin, I think he was here because he had a problem, and I just will pay my respects. He wanted to be here so badly, but he had a difficult problem that he's working through, and we all love Kevin. John Hoeven. John, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Steve Daines. Thank you, Steve. And Steve is a picker of great candidates, like he picked a guy named Tim Sheehy, who's here. Where's Tim? Where is Tim? Thank you, Tim. And Tim Sheehy has turned out to be a wonderful senator, and that was your pick. And we went with it, and you were right. And we have a great one in Tim. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, Steve. Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much. West Virginia. from West Virginia. She has to like. You have no choice. Even if you didn't like it, you have to like coal, right? But they were doing a number on you. They were doing a number on you with the coal stuff, and you have not only coal, but you have among the best coal anywhere in the world. So thank you very much. A friend of mine for a long time, I'm the one that got him to change his religion in a sense. He changed the party. He went from a Democrat. I said, Jim, you're not a Democrat. But he changed to Republican. He's one of the most popular Republicans and one of the most popular political leaders in the country. Jim Justice. I call him Big Jim. Big Jim Justice. But you look good, Jim. And he was in the business. And so am I doing the right thing? You would know better than anybody in this room. Am I doing the right thing, Jim? I think so, right? Thank you very much, Jim. Cindy Hyde Smith. Cindy, thank you, hon. Very good. Good job. People are going to be happy. And all friends of mine. Mike Lee. Mike, thank you very much. We have a lot of people from Congress, congressmen and women, representatives. Morgan Griffith. Morgan, thank you. Thank you very much. Bruce Westerman. Bruce, thank you, Bruce. Bob Latta. Bob Latta. Thank you, Bob. Good job. Troy Balderson. Troy. Haven't seen you in a long time since that early race. I endorsed him before anyone knew who he was, and he ended up winning. That was another surprise, right? That was a long time ago. Yep, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much, Troy. Carol Miller. Carol, thank you. Carol, West Virginia. Riley Moore. Riley. Hi, Riley. Thanks. Mike Boast. Mike, thank you very much. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Oh, he has something. What is it, coal? Is there coal in that bag?
Even better, it's clean coal.
I like it. I'll take it right now. Thank you very much. Hal Rogers. Hal, thank you. Thank you, Hal. Andy Barr. Thank you, Andy. Good luck with everything. I hear good things. Troy Downing. Troy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Troy. Hal Rogers. Oops. Harriet Hageman. Harriet. Hi. How are you, Harriet? We just left Harriet. This is one of the finest attorneys you will ever see. I have seen her in action, and she is brutal. I never want her against me, that I can tell you. Dan Muser. Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Dan. Good job you're doing. Wesley Hunt, my friend, too. Wesley, great. I love your commercial. Pete Sauber. Pete, thank you, Pete. Great hockey player he was, right? Great hockey player. And a great gentleman just broke the record of Wayne Gretzky. The great one is Wayne Gretzky, but we have another great one too, huh? Just broke the record. It was great. Governor Greg Gianforte. Greg, nice seeing you. Good, Greg. Thank you very much, Greg. Bill Lee. Bill, thank you very much. Patrick Morrissey, West Virginia, just got elected. Mark Gordon. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of others, and I'm in trouble because I don't know. I got 5 or 6 others that I see quickly, but I'm just not going to do it. Don't hold it against me because we have to get back to the most important people in the room, these people. You know that, right? So the energy workers and the coal miners in the area that I'm standing on, and there's a lot of weight on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's structurally designed for you guys. I don't know. But we have just really well-deserving, great American patriots, and it's such an honor to be here and making such a big move, such a bold move in energy. Because, you know, for years, people would just bemoan this industry and decimate the industry for absolutely no reason, because with modern technology and all of the other things that We do. It's one of the great forms of energy. That's why other countries, leading countries, are using it, some exclusively. For 4 long years, Joe Biden and congressional Democrats tried to abolish the American coal industry. They did everything in their power while he was awake, which wasn't much, shutting down dozens of coal plants, banning coal leases on federal lands, and putting thousands and thousands of coal miners out of work, destroying their lives, actually, destroying their lives. I'll never forget when I went to West Virginia, which I won by 48 points, I think, right? Big Jim, I won by 48 points. But in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in a high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know. You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation. You remember that? And there was a coal miner around the table with his family, and he was in tears because of what they had done to him and his family. And I hope he's still around, but that man made quite an impression on the world and the public. And we ended up winning in a great election, but we ended up winning by a lot. The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America. But meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week, and other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. Some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord. You know, under the Paris Climate Accord, we had a terrible situation. We would have paid over $1 trillion. Think of it, over $1 trillion. And Russia was paying almost nothing. Russia had a 1992 standard. China was paying nothing. China didn't kick in until 2035. This was 5 years ago. So they didn't kick in for many years. India had no standard whatsoever. But we had the highest standard you could imagine. We had to start paying from day one, and we had to pay lots of money. We paid for everything. So I was not a big fan of the Paris Accord, and I let it be known, and I got out of it early. Then they went back into it, and now we get back out of it. And hopefully we can be there for a long time, okay? A long time, because it was a scam to take money away from the United States and actually hurt us very badly with coal and with other things. Now, under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments, we're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these 2 gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America. They made it impossible. You actually, I know a friend of mine has a plant. He said, you know, it's a shame. I'm ripping it down and I'm replacing it with another form of energy. I won't tell you because it's also very good, but it's not as powerful as this. He said, you know, the plant I'm building, the new plant, is literally half as good. It's no less, you know, it's not probably even as good environmentally, but he said it produced half the power for more money, much more money. It'll never compete with that beautiful plant I have down the road, which was really a modernized coal plant. Well, he'll be happy to know that he can open that plant up very quickly, and it's going to produce a lot. But he was complaining. He said, this is so much better. He wasn't doing that as politicking me. He was doing that because that's what he felt. And he knew every form of energy. We talked about that. He knew every form of energy. But our government is going to do something that's very different. And I don't think even you two know about this. This was my idea from about 15 minutes before I got up here. We're going to guarantee that we have a strong business for many years to come, that your coal companies and your miners don't get all excited about their jobs, and then should a radical left liberal become president, they end the business right away, and somebody's built a plant and spent hundreds of millions of dollars in building a plant, and the plant is going to be closed because a Democrat got in or a liberal got in. They're opposed to coal, and Republicans are very much for it, clean coal. And we're going to give a guarantee that the business will not be terminated by the ups and downs of the world of politics. So should somebody come in to this very important office and say, oh, well, you spent hundreds of millions of dollars and you guys have given up your life because you want to be in coal, and then all of a sudden you don't have a life anymore because it's what you know the best, that's not going to happen. We're going to give a guarantee that it's not going to happen, so that if somebody comes in, they cannot change it at a whim. They cannot just going to go, they're going to have to go through hell to close you up. All right, so that's pretty good. We're going to give that in the form of a guarantee that we're writing on right now structurally and from a legal standpoint. So your investments are going to also be protected. And you're going to have no reason to be concerned about your future, your life, or your investment if you're a miner, as this great governor was a miner. Actually, he was one of the larger coal miners. He could fit up here very easily, you know, Big Jim. But he was a great success. But they were very, very tough on him, and he did a beautiful job with a beautiful product. Already under our leadership, the Department of Interior has approved the expansion of the Spring Creek mine in Montana, supporting 280 coal mining jobs and unlocking over 40 million tons of coal. And there's more to come. Spring Creek, big one. And there's more to come in the states of Wyoming, Alabama, Utah, North Dakota, and many others. West Virginia, I can't believe they didn't put West Virginia down. It's lucky I mentioned that, right? Can you imagine if I didn't mention West Virginia? I would have been in big trouble. They didn't mark it down here. It's good to have a president like that can pick that up, right? You think Joe Biden would have picked that up? I don't think so. Gee, they didn't mention West Virginia. I don't think so. I don't think he'd be standing up here either. The value of untapped coal in our country is 100 times greater than the value of all the gold in Fort Knox, and we're going to unleash it and make America rich and powerful again. Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it in a very clean, environmental way. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy there is on Earth today. It's a big statement. You never hear those statements, you know. You've never heard that before from a politician, have you? Well, maybe from that politician, but not too many. But that's the way it is. I say it again. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. You're virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on Earth. We have more coal than any other country. You go to Australia, they have fantastic amounts of coal. You know who they sell it to? China. They sell it to China. They're nearby. They sell a lot of it to China. But we have more than anywhere else on Earth. We also have more liquid gold than anywhere on Earth. So we're really an energy behemoth, but we're unleashing that also. That's going to be another part. But I didn't even want to mention that. It's not down here because I didn't want to mention today is about clean, beautiful coal. So I'm going to give this to you. This big guy. Should I give it to him?
Yeah.
You take that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah. For example, we believe it's possible to extract enormous amounts of critical minerals and rare earths, which you know we need for technology and high technology in the process of coal mining, making in America the mineral superpower of the world, actually. In addition, I'm instructing the Department of Justice to identify and fight every single unconstitutional state or local regulation that's putting our coal miners out of business. And we are withdrawing all of those objections from our government today. It's all being withdrawn. So all of you people that have been fighting for your lives, we are withdrawing all of that today. We have excellent lawyers, excellent. Have you noticed that lots of law firms have been signing up with Trump? $100 million, another $100 million for damages that they've done. But they give you $100 million and then they announce that, but we have done nothing wrong. And I agree, they've done nothing wrong. But what the hell? They give me a lot of money considering they've done nothing wrong. And we'll use some of those people, some of those great firms. They are great firms, too. They just had a bad moment. But we're going to use some of those firms to work with you on your leasing and your other things. And they'll do a great job. I think they're going to do a fantastic job. And for those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. We're going to have to use those great law firms, I think, to help us with that. But we're going to probably do that, actually. We're going to use them, and we're getting them for the right price because we need a lot of talent. We have a lot of countries coming in that want to make deals. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up. Mike, you know that. So it's going to be a great thing, but we're think of that, $2 billion a day. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money even in the coal business, isn't it? Huh? It's a lot of money. And America's going to be very rich again very soon. You're going to see that happening. You see it all along. And it's so that whole situation that, it was somewhat explosive. But if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking the way we're talking right now. It's been amazing what's happened. Sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit, but we've had great consideration. We've had talks with many, many countries, over 70. They all want to come in. Our problem is can't see that many that fast. But we don't have to because, as you know, the tariffs are on and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before. And it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for other countries. We've been ripped off and abused by countries for many years with the tariff situation. They've used tariffs against us. We didn't use tariffs against them or in any way. I mean, we just didn't use them of any monumental proportion. And so we are doing it now. We have tariffs on cars. We have tariffs on lumber, tariffs on steel and aluminum. Steel plants are going up because of it all over the country. We have 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. And I think the steel workers like me even more than the coal miners like me. I'm pretty sure that that's true. We have, instead of having no steel business, I put them on originally in my first term. We wouldn't have had one steel mill in the United States if I didn't do that. And now we upped it, and we not only are we taking in a lot of money, but we're protecting our workers, our steel workers. We're protecting our steel industry. And one thing you know, that steel and things like steel you need, because you need it from a defense standpoint. You need steel for your tanks and your planes and your everything. And certain industries you can get away with not having, but others you need, and steel is one you need. So I want to let you know that's in full force and effect. And literally as we speak, I spoke to executives in the steel industry over the last few days, and they're all coming in to build plants in the United States of America, because if you build them in the United States, you have no tariffs to pay. There are no tariffs to pay, zero. If you build them outside using outside labor and hurting our businesses, and you send your product in, you have to pay a price for that, and they will be having tariffs, as you know. It's an amazing thing. This has been something used against us for many years by other countries, China in particular, but others, not just China, others, and taken advantage of us, ripped us off, and left us for dead, frankly. And I believe if I didn't become your president, I believe that this country would have had problems like they've never had before, because it was serious damage in so many other ways. Not only the border, where people came rushing into our country from prisons and jails and mental institutions, murderers, drug dealers, and some vicious criminals. 11,088 murderers came into our country. We have to get them out. We're getting them out. 11,088. Of that number, half committed murder on more than two people. And this is what they allowed into our country with their open border policy of lunacy. And we're taking care of that, just like we're taking care of you today. We're taking care of that. And I want to thank Christine Noem and Tom Homan for doing an unbelievable job. The whole thing is, what the job they're doing is incredible. It's really an unforced error. It should have never happened, that we have to be spending such time and resources, Mr. Senator, right, on getting people out of our country that shouldn't be here. I mean, literally from mental institutions, insane asylums were opened up and emptied into our country. Prisons from all over the world, not just South America, prisons from, think of this, from Africa, the Congo, a lot of people from the Congo, prisons in the Congo, prisons from Asia, from all over, were opened up. And I knew that when I heard it was an open border policy. I said, if you do that, every country is going to be dumping people that they don't want into our country. And that's what's happened, but we're cleaning it out. And the courts, we had a good decision, as you know, from the Supreme Court allowing us to do that. We have judges that didn't want us to do it. We have judges that wanted the very evil gang members from Trendy, Iroquois, and MS-13. They didn't want them taken out of the country and put in very powerful prisons. When you look, you've all seen those clips. They're pretty amazing clips. But I want to thank El Salvador. They've done an incredible job. But we've been fortunately winning those cases. But we have judges that are out of control that say, oh, bring them back, bring them back. We don't want them back. We don't want them back. Can you imagine? You spend all of that time, energy, and money on getting them out, and then you have a judge that sits there, a local judge who sits there, federal judges, sits there and says, no, bring them back. The one was brought back, or they want to bring him back because he wasn't a member of Tren de Aragua. He was a member of MS-13, which is just as bad. So they misidentified him, but it sounds to me like he was a member of MS-13, so they want him brought back because he wasn't treated properly. It's we got to be smart. Our country's got to get a lot smarter than it is, but we have to give the people that are empowered to do this kind of work, and it's not pleasant work. We have to give them the option of making our country great again, and that's what they're doing, and I have great respect for those people. And they're doing it out of love. They could get a much easier job. They're doing it out of love for our country. It's so important, just like I'm doing this with coal today for love for our country. Earlier this afternoon, I signed another executive order to strengthen our electric grid by ensuring that coal-fired power plants are always available to meet surging demand for electricity. Unlike wind and solar, coal plants can run 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, or snow, and you will not be subject to the incredible blackout situation that's taking place in California, where they have blackouts all the time. It's an amazing thing with California. They have blackouts and brownouts at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And all they want to do is keep going the way they're going. And they're doing a very poor job. As you probably heard, I released billions of gallons of water going in from upstate California, from the most northern parts of California. Probably comes in from Canada to a certain extent. Thank you very much, Canada. We appreciate it. And I released it. It was being sent out to the Pacific Ocean. I've been working on Gavin and some of the politicians for years, and they didn't want to do that because they were protecting a smelt, a fish that was perhaps in trouble, but it's not unique to that area. And because of that, you had numbers, you had fires. Nobody's ever seen anything like what happened. Think of what it would have been like if you had fire hydrants that had water in them, if you had sprinkler systems in houses. A lot of these luxury houses where they had beautiful sprinkler systems, there was no water. They had no water to put out the fires. Water is very good for putting out fires, you know. They just didn't learn it. But we now have millions of gallons, billions actually, they say, of gallons of water pouring into California from the Pacific Northwest, I guess they would say, mostly Pacific Northwest, but other parts of the northern sections of California and beyond. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I saw a picture of it this morning. The water's just flowing down there. I said, why didn't they do this? I told them to do it my first term. I said, do it. And I don't know. I think the second term is just more powerful. They do it. When I say do it, they do it, right? And we actually had to do some pretty strong things to get them to open it up. They had, think of this, they had all that water pouring out right into the Pacific. They had a big valve, like a giant valve as big as this room, and they turned the valve. Takes 1 day to turn it, and they face it toward the Pacific Ocean, and the water, all that was coming down, all millions and millions of gallons coming down, they put it into the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is like a drop of water. But for California, it would have been unbelievable. So we did it. I'm very proud of the fact that we did it. We did that against a lot of heat and a lot of environmental nonsense. From now on, we'll ensure that our nation's critically needed coal plants, as an example, remain online and fully operational. They're always going to be operational. And again, we're going to have guarantees that government cannot close them down, close you down, and destroy your lives. To that end, I'm also instructing Secretary Wright to save the Cholla coal plant in Arizona, big plant, which has been slated for destruction. We're going to keep those coal miners on the job. Going to tell them to just remain calm, because we're going to have that plant opening and burning the clean coal, beautiful clean coal, in a very short period of time. You know all about that, right? That's a big one. As part of our historic deregulatory efforts this afternoon, I'm also granting immediate relief to 47 companies operating 66 coal plants, very big ones all over the country, recusing and making them available for coal production almost in the immediate future. But we're going to be crushing Biden-era environmental restrictions. These are restrictions that made it impossible to do anything having to do, frankly, with energy, even beyond coal. It's really beyond even coal. We have clean air, we have clean water, and now we have clean coal. And at the same time, we're going to do other things and with other forms of technology and also energy, like our country has never really seen before and never been known to do before, because of all sorts of restrictions having to do with the Green New Scam, which, by the way, was devised by somebody that never even studied. You know that they never even studied anything to do with the environment. It's a young congresswoman. She came up with the idea. And based on that, I guess we only have, well, actually, we should have all been gone, because they gave us only a few years left on Earth, right? Right, Greg? We were going to be gone. We were all going to be gone. the environment. No, what they have to worry about is the nuclear heat. They don't have to worry about environmental heat. They have to worry about nuclear heat. And if we're smart, we're working on that right now with others having to do with Iran and some other countries. But that's the heat you're going to have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the air is getting warmer. The ocean will rise 1/4 of an inch within the next 500 to 600 years, giving you a little bit more waterfront property. They say this is good. These guys can handle that. The nuclear we have a bigger problem with, right? So we're going to make sure that that's safe. We're going to make sure that that's safe. With us today are some of the amazing workers who will benefit from these policies, the policies that we're doing and so proud of doing, including Jeff Crow, a miner from West Virginia. Jeff, would you come up and say a few words? Jeff? Come on up, please, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I want to first thank you for having me and my fellow miners here. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of today's events. I believe this past November that America clearly spoke about what we wanted for our country. It is reassuring for Americans to have a president in office who will truly put the United States of America above all else. With putting America first, you have spoken numerous times about energy independence. I believe most don't understand the importance of that. Coal is one of the major factors in energy independence and accounts for a large portion of America's energy. Coal is one of the most reliable and cheapest forms of electricity. For too long, coal has been a dirty word that most are afraid to speak about. Most of those that would speak negatively about coal do so from an uneducated standpoint. Many are unaware of the engineering and technology that are used in today's mining to create a clean, energy-efficient product. All of this is done while using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. To name a few, we employ engineers, teachers, physical therapists, accountants, truck drivers, high school and college graduates. All of these occupations and graduates have turned to the coal industry to provide a better way of life for them and their families. Everyone in our industry works long hours and days to provide a reliable energy product, and too many times it goes unnoticed. I've personally worked in the industry for 23 years. I choose to do this daily to provide my wife and children with the life that they deserve. Prior administrations have done all they could to eliminate the coal industry. Sorry, one second, I'm getting there. In my opinion, they have done so with an unethical and uneducated approach. But we are still strong, we are still here, and we are still needed in order to make America great again. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. From my family to the over 3,000 employees of ACNR, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You did a good job. Let me have that speech. I want to have that.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of good lines in there when I came up. No, actually, what I want to do, I'm going to sign it for you. because I mean, he worked hard. Look at it, and look how good his eyes must be to read that.
I lost it once.
And hopefully you can sell it tonight for a lot of money.
No, sir, I'll keep that one.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeff. And also with us is Tony Campbell of the East Kentucky Power Cooperative, and Tony's quite a gentleman and very respected in the industry. Come on up, Tony. Thank you.
Mr. President, on behalf of East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, and electric cooperatives across this America, thank you for your leadership to restore American energy dominance. Electric co-ops keep the lights on for 42 million Americans across 56% of the land mass. We are owned by the communities and businesses we serve and provide electricity to growing communities, new data centers, and manufacturing plants. Mr. President, electric co-ops are powering America, and we are proud to partner with you and your administration to power America into the future. Our electric cooperatives in Kentucky understands the importance of reliable, affordable, and American-made energy, especially coal and natural gas. Coal fuels most of the electricity generated by our cooperative. America must keep coal plants open and running to ensure reliable electricity when we need it most. To meet growing demand over the next decade and ensure fuel security, America will need more always available electric generation power, such as coal. And we want to recognize the hardworking American men, women that support our mission. To all America's line workers, our coal miners, thank you for your dedicated service to our country. Affordable and reliable electricity is a cornerstone of our economy, especially American manufacturing. However, too many government leaders have pushed policies that have made our electric grid significantly less reliable and our energy too expensive. That begins to change now. Your actions today will prevent the premature closing of essential power plants and help us meet tomorrow's energy needs. And they will help us continue to deliver reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. Mr. President, thank you in particular for providing immediate, much-needed relief from the Biden EPA regulations that would force the shutdown of critical coal units. Finally, I want to say congratulations on the all-star energy team you've assembled. Electric co-ops have already been working with Secretaries Burgum, Wright, and Rollins, and Administrator Zeldin, and we are excited for all we can accomplish together. Mr. President, thank you again for your actions today and for your support for the electric cooperatives as we work to keep the lights on in America.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day under the Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers. and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed. Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it, too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future. A little, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future, and it was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions, and this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.
Come on up. Mr. President?
Yes, I was first one.
We have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon, sir. The first of these executive orders is maybe one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sir, you've made grid reliability and security a key focus of this administration. This executive order is going to promote grid security and reliability by ensuring in part that our grid policies are focused on secure and effective energy production and energy transmission, as opposed to woke policies that discriminate against secure sources of power like coal and other fossil fuels. Lastly, sir, one of the biggest problems we have in this space is Democrat states, radical leftist states, enacting policies and enacting an agenda that discriminates against coal, against secure sources of energy. Many of these policies are unconstitutional and illegal, and with this executive order, you're going to be instructing your Department of Justice to vigorously pursue and investigate these state policies that we believe are illegal or unconstitutional.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good. It was a while ago. Those hands off of the guys.
All right, you've been watching President Trump, who started about 3 minutes before the hour, 3.5 minutes before the hour, and went, what do you go, 53 minutes? And they're just wrapping up clean coal. Executive orders on coal. We were told energy, but it was very much focused on the coal industry, and specifically clean coal, where, you know, a lot of a vast majority, well, it used to be 70-80% of our electricity was powered by coal. Now it's around 40%. Natural gas is part of it as well as some of the heavier oils. But clean coal is the push now. It's a different type of coal, and they jam the exhaust from the coal into the ground, et cetera, et cetera. It's a cleaner way to produce the same amount of electricity. Trump said he's going to expedite the leases and the permitting process so that people who want to explore for coal, drill for coal, mine for coal, will have that opportunity at a much quicker rate. And also his idea, he says it was his idea that he's going to provide a guarantee to any businesses that open up coal plants or clean coal-fired plants that they won't be put out of business by a liberal president if someone wins the next time or the next time. So some sort of legal guarantee. There's always ways around things, but look, it's great for the coal industry, great for the energy industry, folks, and we'll leave it at that. I would like to have seen more. I would like to have seen some LNG ideas. I have some great ideas with LNG. I think, again, I spent 20 years in the oil business. There are a lot of things that, these are great. Let's call it a start. There are a lot of things that we could do. I would also like to see, well, I have an idea. Let's bring in Steve Bannon, because I think this idea is something we could flow with someone like Steve, who understands not only the energy market, but also the global trade market as well, Steve. So we saw the executive order on specifically clean coal and expediting permitting. The point I'm trying to make here was that I would love to have seen some sort of initiative to take our massive ability to create liquefied natural gas. We have abundant natural gas in this country, and cut deals with foreign countries with this. And here's what I'm getting at. I'm watching this China trade war go on, Steve. I'm watching my 401k become a 201k, and I'm saying maybe liquefied natural gas. Maybe we can negotiate with China. We'll give you LNG with no tax whatsoever at all. Just drop your tariffs, and maybe we'll have a reciprocal lowering of this trade tariff deal instead of this war that's developing and really costing a lot of Americans a lot of money. Stephen.
I think, first off, all of your ideas, we either ought to get you in the war room or we'll just do it on your show. We ought to take like half a show and you just go through your punch list. We do it with Dave Walsh all the time. In fact, I think some of these ideas about coal actually came from Dave Walsh. As you know, the president watches, if he doesn't get a chance to watch the shows, he watches the clips and the highlights. And so, Eric, people think very highly of you. Let's just roll. I think there's so much to do in natural gas, so much to do in LNG and the rest of energy. President Trump, his mantra is full spectrum energy dominance, whether it's coal, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, whether it's the alternatives. He wants to be dominant. He wants America to be dominant everywhere, not just energy independent, but energy dominant. So I think your ideas are fantastic. We ought to work them up and have like a special. You come on the Saturday show, and we'll just go through a punch list, and we'll get it to the White House, and then you just go over and get a meeting over there.
I'd love to.
All you got to do. We have an inside guy. We got Brian Glenn. Hell, he gets the first question. He's like Helen Thomas. He's like Helen Thomas of old UPI. Brian's the anchor man over there. And we got Natalie. We'll get you a meeting, Eric. I know a guy. Okay,
you got a guy. You got a guy. Yeah, I knew it. I knew we had Steve Bannon, the Don of the MAGA movement. I'm just one of the gangsters. He's the Don. I knew we could get in there, but I do have a lot of ideas.
Your ideas are fantastic.
Yeah.
Your ideas are fantastic. And natural gas, I think, look, we're the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. Pennsylvania alone is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. If we ever got this thing cranked up in LNG, everybody would be rich.
There is a gas bubble the size of half the continents, half the globe, just off the Gulf of America, and that 4 or 5 countries are trying to figure out who owns it because it's in international waters, and they're all drilling sideways, like with straws, with tubes, to try and access this gas. If we just owned it and took it and declared it's ours, and Trump's the only guy that has the cojones to do it, we would own it. We would own the natural gas market globally for the rest of eternity. And there's enough gas in that pool. And the problem is, who's going to get it and who's going to tap into it first?
Hang on. I guarantee you one thing. We know a guy who will get you a meeting in the Oval with that proposal, and you walk up to his map, walk up to his Gulf of America map, you make it. Before you're out of the Oval, Eric Bolling will be special envoy to the Gulf of America for natural gas. He'll hit the bid on that in the room. He'll hit the bid on that in the room. I've been in enough of those presentations, Eric.
For me to broadcast our handoffs from, hey, Ben, and I'm out here in the Gulf of America.
Special envoy to the, no. Eric Bolling, special envoy, Gulf of America. Heck, what Witkoff got. Witkoff's dealing with Russia and Persia. You got Gulf of America. But I'm telling you, President Trump is looking for those exact type of opportunities. This is why he's talked about redoing the leases for coal, for clean coal on federal land. I mean, President Trump, full spectrum energy dominance, and Eric, all kidding aside, he would take that proposal from you very seriously.
I'll do it. I'll sit down with you, Stephen. We'll do it. We'll put something together. We'll get it into your guy who can get it into the boss. One time when he first was elected in 2016, he called me to the Oval. It's a funny story. I get to the Oval, and I walk in, and he's down the hallway, which is like off the Oval. There's a reading room. There's a little hallway you walk through, and he's sitting in the back, and he's having French fries and ketchup. And he's like, "What do you think of this infrastructure proposal?" I think it's great. I'm like, "This is great." I said, "I just want 2 ideas real quick. You're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on roads, potholes, bridges. Okay, fine. Build some hospitals and schools and call them Trump Richmond, Virginia, Trump, and just put your name on. So when people drive by and use local contract, when they drive by and watching the local contract, they see, look at that Trump hospital, look at that Trump school. I got the idea, Steve. I just have to get it to them at some point.
Hang on. Bowling thinks like a ward boss, right? That's like Boston back in the old days. But hang on. I want to go back to your trip to the Oval Office. I remember when Eric went there, and President Trump was a huge fan of Eric's show back in those days and today. Eric, when you went from the Oval down that small hallway to that's the little dining room at the end.
Correct.
You passed what we turned into a reading room. That's the Monica Lewinsky Memorial Bill Clinton side office that we hadn't had an exorcism yet, so I was afraid, Reince and everybody were afraid to go in there. But that's the Monica, that little reading room is the Monica Lewinsky Memorial.
Yeah, don't touch anything.
You were there, sir.
Don't touch the desk. All right, see, we'll give it to you, brother. I would love to do your idea at some point, man. Take it away.
Eric. No, I'll text you after the show. Okay. I love the Gulf of America idea.
Got it.
Okay. By the way, Gulf of America, which was named by, I think that it came up with Kevin Posobiec, right? Jack Posobiec's brother. At least Kevin Posobiec claims that. The Gulf of America. I love it. We have an interesting cold open. Our camera crew is getting relocated from the East Room. Natalie's going to open the show. Let's go ahead and play the cold open. Let's go ahead and let it rip.
There is a trade. We already have a free trade agreement. We have a trade surplus. So getting the least bad, why did they get whacked in the first place?
We're addressing the $1.2 trillion deficit, the largest in human history that President Biden left us with. We should be running up the score in Australia.
Ambassador Greer, answer the question on Australia. We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are an incredibly important national security partner. Why were they whacked with a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they ban our beef, they ban our pork. They're getting ready to impose measures on our digital companies.
With your Greek letter formula, the fact that we have a trade surplus.
We have a global tariff on everywhere. We're trying to address the $1.2 trillion deficit that Biden left us with.
I think that answer, sir, you're a much smarter person than that answer. The idea that we are going to whack friend and foe alike, and particularly friends, with this level is both, I think, insulting the Australians, undermines our national security, and frankly makes us not a good partner going forward. The lack of trust from friends and allies based upon this ridiculous policy that goes into full effect at midnight tonight is extraordinary.
If 700,000 Americans lose their jobs, will the Trump administration suspend these tariffs?
Senator, I think the economists who are making these projections, who often are in favor of fully unfettered free trade, are the same ones who said in the first Trump term that putting tariffs.
Greer,
I still think it's going to happen,
let me just
Senator.
stop you there. I'm not asking about projections. I'm asking if the numbers show that 700,000 people have lost their jobs because of these new tariffs that Trump has slapped on. Will the administration reverse course and lift those tariffs?
Senator, that's not going to happen. We've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs over the years, which is the number I'm most worried about, and we have to get those jobs
back. So I take that as a no. Let me try another one. Moody's says that if the Trump tariffs remain in place, we will definitely plunge into a recession, which will ultimately cost 3.5 million Americans their jobs. So, Ambassador Greer, if Trump's tariffs push 3.5 million people out of work, will the Trump administration reverse course and lift those tariffs?
Senator, the Wall Street analysts are wrong. They never want to have any kind of change to the status quo.
Right,
but that's who you're quoting to me, Senator.
I'm giving you a number. If Trump tariffs push workers out of their jobs and raise prices, as Fed Chair Powell has predicted, will you reverse course then?
I think also with respect to Chairman Powell, who I don't know personally, but I know the president makes decisions on trade, and he rarely takes advice from Chairman Powell on this. We found in Trump 1 that you could put tariffs on China and you could make it work and have lower income, lower unemployment, lower in inflation, and increase real median household income over time as we reshore. And that's what we have to do, Senator.
What I'm hearing you say is that no one can hear a rhyme or reason to why the tariffs are off again, on again, off again, on again. But what you're telling us is the fact that hundreds of thousands, even millions of people could lose their jobs and that prices could go up will not be a factor for you or for Donald Trump for rolling those tariffs back.
We just had Liberation Day, but many Americans are concerned that prices are going to go up and
Americans,
tariffs...
okay, stop. This is just the only reason people have any concern at all is because the running dog for the capitalists on Wall Street and the lords of easy money media continues to go on with this false narrative that prices are going to go up, stock market is going to crash, everything's going to happen over and over and over again without looking at any evidence. We put some of the strictest tariffs ever on China in 17 and 18, and prices didn't go up at all on Chinese product. This is just another false narrative put out by the media. It's the same as all the lies they told about the pandemic, all the lies they told about the Ukraine, all the lies they told about this whole election. I could go on and on and on. The only people worked up about, did the market crash today? No, did not. You have a sorting out of things. I didn't say it was not going to be any turbulence. Didn't have any crash. Didn't have gold blow through the roof. Nothing that was prophesized yesterday. And look, Trump went hard. And it shows you, I think, to the world, he's not a maximalist. I was always for the reciprocity. But the reciprocity has a maximalist side where you just go and match whatever your analysis shows. He was also thinking there was tension around with President Trump to just do tiered at 20%. He did do reciprocity, which I thought was very important to show the American people how people have abused the United States of America and American companies.
President Trump said, Mr. Greer, that he had no choice in terms of Canada. And I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. He had no choice but to bypass Congress and to impose an emergency 25% tariff on Canada to stop, quote, the massive, end quote, amount of fentanyl and, quote, the millions and millions of undocumented immigrants coming from the northern border. Unfortunately, that's a lie. The truth is that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported just 43 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the Canadian border last year, representing just 0.2% of the total. Further, he said he talked about millions and millions of undocumented immigrants coming from Canada. In fact, last year there were 24,000 people, not millions and millions. First question, really, we can argue about tariffs, but why does the president have to lie all of the time in order to make his point?
So, Senator, I would just refute that when the president is talking about the nature of the emergency we have. I mean,
could you talk a little bit closer into the mic, please?
Certainly. Senator, I would just say, I think you need to look at what the president issued in terms of the order for the legal basis for what we're doing, right? I mean, the president very rightly hit on this issue of fentanyl migration coming from northern and southern borders, and it's a real emergency.
Drugs are a real emergency. 0.2%. You can then argue illegal drugs come from every country in the world. If you declare that as an emergency, you're giving the president of the United States unbelievable power.
The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America. But meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week. And other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. And some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord.
This scenario, the decision maker who decided the alla prima approach, who has obviously had to have spent time anticipating what we saw in the markets and some of the pushback, I'm assuming this all got gamed out because it's a novel approach. It needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear for certainly.
Did you propose the alla prima approach?
So, first of all, I would push back, Senator, just a little bit on this. We've excluded pharmaceuticals and semiconductors to take a different kind of approach.
Let's make it.
And we've excluded U.S.
So it just seems like I'm getting my head around the alla prima approach. I'm not condemning it because I'm not a trade expert, but I still, at some point, and I understand that you are the trade rep. So if you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful. If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong, and who I put up on a platform and thank them for the novel approach that was successful if they're right.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. Here's not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Tuesday, 8 April, year of our Lord 2025, a wild day on markets throughout the world. Market finished up a little bit down today at the end. Gold had a slight down movement. 10-year Treasury, slight uptick. Kind of a mixed day on Wall Street, but not the catastrophe that the left is trying to push us into. Of course, President Trump going full spectrum energy dominance there with clean coal. Also, a lot of stuff coming out of the Supreme Court. So on the battlefronts of Trump's second term, we're engaged on everything. Mike Davis is at the White House right now. I believe he may even be talking to the president or to the staff, and he's going to come and join us in a little while. I want to go to Natalie Winters. Natalie, first off, you followed this for a long time, particularly the Chinese Communist Party taking it on the chops. At midnight tonight, ma'am, 104% tariff kicks in. Xi and the Chinese are not too happy about that. Your thoughts?
Well, a wonderful America First day here at the White House. I think we're going to have some of the coal workers who are just on stage with President Trump joining us shortly. But you're so right to frame it this way. This is an absolutely horrific day for the Chinese Communist Party. And I don't know about you, Steve, but I don't even think that we have to cite chapter and verse War Room or any of the reporting that I've done for years. I think we should cite, probably all the neocons up on Capitol Hill who love to use the China threat, right, to justify the ever-expanding and ballooning trillion-dollar defense budget, or maybe the Democrats who say that the reason that we have to continue hemorrhaging, hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine is so we can, defend against the Chinese Communist Party by extension. Well, those people, I think, have made the case as to why we need to have these tariffs, why we need to reorient the entire global manufacturing and trade system. And I think that the White House has effectively been pushing back this idea that, why are we putting tariffs on, islands with penguins? Well, are these people really that dumb or just not students of history to understand the entirety of the Belt and Road Initiative, the 140 plus countries that the Chinese Communist Party has either signed memorandums of understanding with or straight up deals with to essentially own their infrastructure, own their manufacturing sectors, which is exactly how they skirted sort of the phase one deal. It's why it was sort of watered down, right? They just outsourced their manufacturing to Vietnam and to Mexico. That's why these tariffs are so essential. And by the way, Steve, and I'm sure the audience knows all too well, it's the same people who are apoplectic over we can spend trillions of tax dollars in USAID, global government, globalist institutions. But I guess a few days of now what we're seeing, not really all that bad stock market losses. This is the first day where a sitting president put America's working class first over the heavily invested Wall Street elite, and it's a glorious day to be standing here at the White House and to be able to say that and bring that to you.
It's a glorious day. Natalie, hang on. We're taking a short commercial break. I'm going to ask you, and I want your answer on the other side. The Democrats say, particularly people who say they're populists, like Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, the faux populists, they were absolutely trying to tear Jameson Greer apart. Jameson Greer gave as good as he got in his own gentlemanly way. So today, the trade rep up there in front of the Senate Finance Committee, and they tore into him. The people in the Democratic Party said they're the biggest populist. Short commercial break. Natalie Winters is live at the White House. Hopefully get some coal workers, and she's got some color revolution resistance. Rachel Maddow's going crazy. Half her show every night is full screen. Everything is going around the country, the whole revolt. Short commercial break. Back in the war room in just a moment.
I think you changed already. You went and lost your pride, but I'm American made. I got American heart. I got American faith in America.